directors to order. And if I could pledge allegiance, please. Sure, everyone please stand, take the flag. Hand over your heart, ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Republic for which it stands.
Recording is still in progress.
It's got the echo effect going there.
We can echo the entire evening.
Oh, my God.
Madam Secretary, we have roll call, please.
Director Hopper,
Yes.
Director Lang,
Here.
Director Cusswood,
Here.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Buss.
Here.
Thank you very much. We have two special presentations this evening. First one is from our friends at the Conejo Valley Historical Society, telling us everything we need to know about the Stagecoach Inn. Oh, you're up.
Pam, looks like Pam Pond and
Hey. Well, I have a fantastic presentation for you, and it's there. Woo! Okay. As always, we want to thank CRPD for your continued support for the Stagecoach Inn Museum Complex, for all that you do. Do I have a clicker or something? Really? Okay, thank you. How do I click it? Red button. Right, like that? Oh, geez, Louise. Okay. Meet our leaders in 2022. Myself, looking fabulous as usual. We had Sherry Kerman and Cynthia Bingstroms, who are our docent chairs. There are volunteer leaders, which they're incredible. Darlene Van Manen, who's our incredible and very gifted treasurer, and Isabel Becker, our Emporium manager. And here is our team, our illustrious team. We have Kathy Passeri, Surprise Saturdays, Blanca Rele, Curator of Collections, Carol Anderson, Curator of History, our IT team chair, Irene Setta, and her entire team, Daryl Jones, Carriage House, Sharon Gerlach, Timber School, Bobby Mensinger, Blacksmith Shop, Stacia Simrall, Tri-Village and Special Tours, Fred Nueska, Chumash Village and Heritage Oak Area, Debbie Birnbaum, Junior Docents, Bill Ackerman, Museum Theater, and Carol Willis, our wedding coordinator. And that's just a handful of our incredible volunteers. I mean, look at this, guys. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Attendance. I did a 10-year comparison average because I wanted to see how we did weathering the COVID storm. And as you see, and it's pretty cool and impressive, but as you can see, 2019 was by far our biggest museum attendance year, and then COVID hit. And in 2022, as you can see, we're making our way back. In fact, if you look at it, we're almost to 2014 numbers. Look at that. So we really had a great comeback. If you look at last year's attendance, and it just when we separate everything, the blue portion on the pie chart shows our actual attendance, which was really very, very good considering coming back from COVID. And then you had the holidays, which are red, Pioneer Day, which was yellow. So those take up a real good quarter. Then you have weddings, which, wow, that's another quarter. School tours, which was a quarter. And keep in mind that last year's school tours were down because of the complete COVID shutdown for half of the year. So, I mean, this is pretty impressive, even considering, you know, that it was 2022. We started a speaker series last year and continued it this year. And you can see that's the pink portion. And TO Arts started something called Stagecoach In After Dark. TO Arts presents Stagecoach In After Dark, where they bring concerts to the museum, and people sit on the grass and they listen to music. And look at that, it's a nice quarter. So all attendance counts, people, all attendance counts. So I'm pretty impressed. We're making a great comeback. And I hate to say it, this year's going to be better. Membership. Wow, look at this. We did a 3-year average of our membership. And as you can see, 2022, again, a growing year. This year, we had 289 members in 2022. We started something, we have 4 lifetime members, 4 curators, 9 junior docents. And this year in 2022, we started something called a VIP membership, which is, if anyone knows about art, a lot of museums do it. It's where you are a sustaining donor and you just pledge $25 and that money continues to be taken out of your, of every month, and until you tell the bank to just stop it already. But no one said that yet, and it's all good. And we started with only 2 VIP memberships, and we've already like tripled this year. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited. We're getting in there with the big boys like in New York and stuff, right? Our curator of collections, Blanca, is amazing. She's been doing it forever, but oh my God, she's so impressive. And now she has a team behind her. We have one of her team members, Kathy Passeri, right there. Hey. And we have other team members who are assisting her. New additions to the collection in 2022 include precious family textiles to enhance the collection for seasonal exhibits, and the Hunt family, a Conejo Valley pioneer family descendant, donated a collection of china, crystal textiles, children's books, and those are on display throughout the museum and throughout Timber School. Our glorious Kathy here in the audience started something called Hands-on Saturdays, and they every Saturday last year they were bringing in artifacts and demonstrating museum artifacts to our adoring crowds. There were also demonstrations of other things, and they've continued it this year, not every Saturday, but one Saturday a month, which is really fabulous. The curator of history. Now, a lot of people think, oh, a curator of history, what do they do? Well, this gal, Carol Anderson, is so incredible. She inventories every single piece of paper and every single artifact that it's different from museum artifacts, like chairs and tables. These are all articles and all paper, pieces of paper and stuff. And anything that about the history of Conejo Valley. And she has just, it's mind-boggling. It's so impressive. She had an intern helping her this year, which Juliana Ziri was a godsend because there were so many pieces of paper this year. Well, with COVID. And she also did several presentations, which were really cool. She did one on Zoom, which was amazing for CLU. It was incredible, just incredible. I was there when it happened and it was glorious. It was just so wonderful. She just loves the joy of finding and reporting history. And seriously, if you have any question about 200 years ago, about a single person 200 years ago, this is the girl. She knows everything. She's incredible. Our docent chairs this year had 3 goals. They wanted to encourage volunteers to be included, and they wanted to recognize them. And they did a lot of recognition last year. They wanted to become more of a partner with Conejo Valley Historical Society, even though, yes, we're all in the same boat together. Sometimes people on one side don't feel like we're all on the same team. And they worked really hard to bridge the gaps to make everyone feel included. It was beautiful. They also wanted to reach out to the community at large. So I just want to say we have over 100 volunteers who do all kinds of different things, including buggy restoration. Wow, buggy restoration. Researching the things, what parts a buggy 100 years ago or 200 years ago would have. House cleaners, planners, program volunteers, sign makers, tailors, techies, window washers, and more. You know, the Stagecoach Inn is a great place, even if you don't want to dress up in a costume. You can just go and do whatever your passion follows you. And you can really do anything there, including wash windows. It's amazing. It's really an amazing place, guys. It really is. I'm not kidding. I'm not lying. Here are some of our glorious volunteers of the month last year. Remember, we wanted to recognize all the volunteers. And they're pretty great, but this is only 12 of 120 or 130 or whatever. It keeps growing. And yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was volunteer of the year, but I'll skip over that quick. But I did it with Bill Ackerman. And oh, by the way, he's amazing. He is in charge of museum theater. And yeah, remember? You don't have to dress up in costume. He produces plays and mini plays and writes plays and gets a team together, and they do historical productions of really incredible things. He even did at Christmas. He did A Christmas Carol. Yeah. And he read Christmas stories with dramatic interpretation. It was pretty cool. Our director of education. Now, okay, remember I told you that COVID really kind of hit this program really hard? Well, here you have a 5-year average of how it hit us. And I thought it was important to see the 5-year average to see how it hit us, okay? So as you can see, 2017, 2018, they're pretty normal years. Okay, 2019, it's a pretty normal year. But then 2020 hit. Look, yeah. 2021. Ooh. 2022. Okay. That shows COVID, guys. This shows COVID and how COVID affected our museum attendance and our school programs. What does 23 look like? Oh yeah. Way better, way better. 23 is going to look like 17 and 18. We have great attendance right now. In fact, some weeks we've had to have 2 programs on a Wednesday and Thursday because we just couldn't accommodate everyone. And the rains kind of hit us hard too. But hey, we're on the way to normalcy, people, normalcy. Our special tours, okay, again, 5-year comparison. You can see 2020 is the gray. You can see 2022 is the dark blue. We're still not up to 2018 numbers or 2019 numbers, but we're working there. We're coming back. We're coming back. This year we have this okay, I don't know if you knew this, but we have a blacksmith program, and it actually trains people to be registered blacksmiths. Yeah, you can learn, you don't have to dress in costume. If you want to pound a hammer and put stuff in hot stuff, you can learn, you can register to be a registered blacksmith person. Okay. What's really cool is that our blacksmith is registered with the California Blacksmith Association and the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America. And he's installed into our blacksmith trainings all of the guidelines and safety policies that registered blacksmiths need to have. So, and they also have different levels of blacksmithing. So you can come to the Stagecoach Inn, learn how to be a blacksmith, and train on multiple levels to be a registered blacksmith. Oh, we have girls do it. We have guys do it. We are trained to do kids under 13, starting at 13. Isn't that cool? That's really cool. Our wedding coordinator. Okay, this is interesting. Our 5-year wedding comparison. Oh, gee, I wonder what 2020 looks like, huh? As you can see, we had 5 weddings last year, 1 memorial, 800 guests. We did have to increase our fee. And there you go. We're coming back, but still 2022. It's not up to 2018 and 19 numbers, but we're coming back. We're coming back. This year, by the way, more than 5. So we're already up to probably 2021 numbers. Our museum theater. Remember I told you about our amazing Bill Ackerman? Well, this year we did Our Towns of the Conejo. It was a reboot of the 2010 production that Elaine Williams wrote. We did A Christmas Carol. He did dramatic readings, Polar Express, The Night Before Christmas. The passion he brings into museum theater is just beyond astonishing. It's incredible. It's incredible. Okay, here's where it gets really cool. Information technology and audiovisual lighting, our department. People, none of these people are all dressed up, but look at how many people are on the IT team. They provide all kinds of IT services. They do the lighting for our Christmas event. They do lighting for the plays. They did sound throughout the property for our Christmas events and any other events, Halloween, whatever. We started movie nights. This team is there with bells on to put up a giant movie screen and show a movie even when it's raining. And boy, they're so talented that nothing went on fire during the slight rain that we had on one of the movie nights. In addition, they're very talented with website, newsletters, bringing presentations through Zoom to the community and to local schools. We actually had several local schools get Zoom presentations to make history happen for them. It's incredible, but just look at that team. They're not dressed up. They're doing something different, and it's okay. And it makes us all well-rounded. Okay. We do have an archaeologist who volunteers her time, and currently they're doing and continuing the inventory for Lang Ranch collections that they started with Barbara Tejada. We're preparing those collections to go to Oak Brook Chumash Museum. And our junior docents the program is really thriving. The kids are having a great time during the pandemic. We had many Zoom meetings. They are trained in every area. As you can see, a junior docent there is rebuilding the Chumash area. We have, they're just amazing. And our coordinator who leads them is brilliant. The Emporium this year, we had a new leader over that at the Emporium, and they carry historically themed items that support the museum's mission to educate the community about the Conejo Valley history. So we have docent-made items, historical items, food, and school gift bags. As you can see, school gift bags are quite popular. Food items are incredibly popular. Docent items are good. They're not as popular as food. And the historical items, as you can see, are just a tiny sliver. The income they made before taxes last year was $10,000. Pretty impressive. That's a lot of food. That's a lot of gift bags. This year, we had improvements to the Heritage Oak and Chumash areas. We have a new trellis to the Heritage Oak patio. We had the Chumash Village completely restored to its brilliance. It looks great there. And future improvements include growth rings for the tree rings and tree date slab placed on the patio, adding stumps and signage in the Chumash area for people to sit on. In the carriage house, okay, remember I told you about that carriage? There it is. The green was the original donation before our volunteer, Gene Hulsman, redid it. Now, he found a company, several companies in the Midwest that actually had parts for that, for the spring wagon. You can see the difference. Isn't it impressive? He spent over 500 man hours rebuilding that. Amazing. We also had termite removal in the carriage house, which of course we would have termites because there's a lot of wood in the carriage house. Our financials, here we go. Our fiscal health. As you can see here, our revenue last year was $271,000. We had facilities use was the giant green part. That's 31% of our revenue. And entrance donations, 25%. Membership dues, 20%. And the events outcome, that's any event we had, that was 22%. Now, expenditures. Last year was a very big building year for us. And it was, as you can see, the grant expenses were 50%, but you guys, we had 13 projects going on. I think we did pretty good at 50% because there was a lot projects. And you're going to see those in a minute. Museum complex bills, payroll, event expenses, professional fees, area specific, and facility use. Now, as you know, 2022 was a year of innovation. We had to think outside the box because we had an unusual time period in history. We had a speaker series, History in Action, Movies Under the Stars, Dance Stars, which was a dancing group who practiced on our lawn. We had Conejo hunts throughout the property, surprise Saturdays, where discovering gizmos and gadgets was something Kathy spearheaded, real-time blacksmith training and certification, collaboration with TO Arts with the Stagecoach Inn After Dark, and exciting and informative new exhibits. We try to rotate our exhibits every month. That's impressive with our team. Now, remember I told you a year for rebuilding? Look at all the stuff that was rebuilt. Thank you to CRPD. Our bell tower in the timber school was rebuilt. Thank you to CRPD. Our back patio is now safe and sound. No one's going to fall off of it, I promise. We have had a new Jungle Land patio resurfaced. That's the picnic tables. We had, thanks to CRPD and COSCRA, the steps right there. Those were unsafe, and we actually had someone fall, and they are now safe. Thank you. COSCRA did that. New bathroom floor. Looks fabulous. We had new lighting put on the Pioneer House, Eagle Scout project. Thanks to Andrew Mooney and CRPD, we had a beautiful black what is it? Parking lot. Yeah, parking lot redone. You saw the spring wagon, you saw the Chumash Village, you saw the heritage patio, and that's super cool. It's a chuck wagon that that thanks to CRPD, we got an old chuck wagon from CRPD, and we had volunteers rebuild it. So, wow. I don't even think I have everything here. I tried to get everything here, but CRPD has been so supportive and helpful that, wow, what can I say? You guys are awesome. Future areas of focus. Well, if we're looking at our future and what we need for the future, we need to build our infrastructure. That is the number one thing that we absolutely need to do, period. We're a museum. We should not be on a septic tank. We need to transition from a septic to a sewer. Building capacity. In the future, we would like to we need to add exhibit space. We need to add archive space. It would be awesome to have an amphitheater with permanent seating outside that we could do different things with. That would be really cool. And we do need additional parking spaces. We know that the park is out, but we do need to get creative and figure out how we can add additional parking. In summary, the mission of the Conejo Valley Historical Society has always been to preserve, maintain, and exhibit the extensive historical record of the Conejo Valley and educate the community about its rich cultural heritage. This mission continues daily, continues today and on from 2022 to beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that information. If any board members have brief questions or comments, we'll take those now. Director Lang.
Yes, having lived here for many years, and first of all, seeing Neil Scribner, who I understand did the cover here of the
No,
schoolhouse.
he did the, he didn't design this. He actually, he's responsible for
The design,
the
yeah.
school design, the architecture for the
Right,
schoolhouse. Yeah.
right. Yeah, and that's around, I happen to be in Kiwanis, but at the time, the Rotary Club of Thousand Oaks and so forth made that a big fundraiser, and I was there for the ribbon cutting and so forth. But anyway, just want to thank Neil for all the work and contribution he's done in supporting the Historical Society, specifically on the Stagecoach Inn Museum property.
Yeah. He is our new president. He is the president for 2023.
Mr. President.
Yeah. There, our president for 2023, right there,
All
Neil.
right, love
Yeah.
it, love it. But having lived in our community for many years, my mother-in-law and a couple other friends were involved in in the 70s, and when Harriet Baker, you remember that name?
Yeah, yeah. We
Which-
have a plaque and statue
Yeah,
with
she was
Berger.
a real go-getter and
Yeah.
kept the museum going many years ago. But anyway, it's been, even though it's not as much a secret today as it used to be, you and others that are involved and have been involved have really brought it to the forefront. And you're to be thanked also for the many hours that you guys put into keeping this a great part of our community. So thank you very much and appreciate the time and effort that all you people put in on this. It's a great venue for our community, historical and more. So thank you.
Thank you.
Director Bess.
I just want to say thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful. And 2 Fridays ago, we went for the pop-up concert. My family and I came and we absolutely loved it. So we definitely plan on coming
Yeah.
back. That was really, really fun. It was a beautiful venue too.
Oh, yeah, it's fabulous.
Yeah, it was great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Director Cussworth.
So the Stagecoach Inn has been a big part of my life and my family's life. Thank you very much, Pam. It's a place I love, so. there's a
Well,
lot of
thank
good
you,
things. And
Nellie.
As Pam mentioned, I used to do new volunteer orientations and people would come up and they go, well, I don't know what I can do here. And I go, you can do whatever you want. Just say what you'd like to do. We'll find something for you to do. And so it's a lot of
Yeah.
talents, a lot of people with a lot of different talents. that
Yeah.
working together. It's great. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wish we had somebody with more enthusiasm running this organization. Pam, thank you so much. And I know you've got a lot of people that are just as enthusiastic as you are. And that's what keeps it going because it's a labor of love. I know the board and the park district contributes some financial parts, but that's just a small part of what it takes. So thank you for the even things like being able to get a buggy back together again. I mean, that's amazing. So thank you so much and be sure and pass along our thanks to your whole crew.
Thank you.
Pam, I just want to add my thanks for the presentation, but more importantly to all of you said 130 volunteers, to all of those volunteers.
And growing.
For what they
Yeah.
do for not just the Stagecoach Inn, but for our community. And I did want to confirm you are open on Wednesdays.
We are open Wednesdays and Saturdays. During the shutdown, before the shutdown, we were open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days a week. And a lot of our volunteers are elderly and were uncomfortable leaving their homes during COVID. So we lost a lot of our older volunteers and we had to adjust. And the way to adjust was how many volunteers can we get? What does it look like? How can we make their experience meaningful? and what will it take? And we discovered 2 days a week was what we could get. And we adjusted to make it a meaningful experience. At first during COVID, we were only open as an outdoor museum for a time. And so we had to really think outside the box to generate interest, and to appease our aging volunteers, and to encourage not volunteers who are not, who are younger to come.
Good. Well, again, thank you very much. I wanted to confirm Wednesday because I'm going to take my grandkids there on Wednesdays. So, thank you.
Wednesdays and
Appreciate it.
Saturdays, 1 to 4. Thank you.
All right. Okay, second special presentation, Tim Doerr, professional growth presentation.
Good evening, Chair Huffer, members of the board. I have the great pleasure this evening of giving a very brief description of a program that many of us in this room are very, very proud of, and to congratulate our first class of participants who completed it. So we have a slideshow that will be running as I speak, but I just want to give you a quick rundown. So this idea came about a couple years ago, where supervisory staff and management staff were trying to figure out a way to provide an opportunity for staff that we had to grow professionally and learn some skills that would help them along the way. So this should cycle through some photos, but so last year we started it as a pilot program and tested it out with a couple of different activities. And then this year was our first full program that was a 6-month program. And so we met once a week, or excuse me, not once a week, once a month, did a different training or activity. And then with each member was also assigned a mentor, and they met with them one-on-one once throughout that month as well. I want to say thank you really quick to all of our committee members. They were all volunteers of staff that put in their time and their efforts and their expertise into making this happen. So as I call your name, if you could just raise your hand really quickly or stand, but we've got Kellen McPherson, Michael Braff, Tim Smith, Julie Spivak, James Foster, Devin Herbert, Kurt Gunning, who's in Hawaii currently, lucky guy, and Melissa Rufio. So the program itself had 3 main goals. The first one is to build on their resume and cover letter writing, public speaking skills, and interviewing. Second one was specific job skills training, and then exposure to different parts of CRPD and different management levels. So kind of like networking within our own organization. And this year we had 11 participants that completed the program. And from that, a wide range of different positions, which was really neat. So as I mentioned, each month we would meet and do a different skill or activity, and it was meant to progress towards the next one. So we learned something that would help us for the next one. So we did a thorough breakdown of CRPD and the organization chart. We did public speaking activities, speed interviewing. We had a leadership panel that consisted of City Council member Bob Engler, Assistant City Manager Ingrid Hardy, and retired Police Chief Tim Hagel. And then we put everyone through a mock interview. And each the program, the participants were broken up into groups, and they were each tasked with presenting a special event that would be one that we could potentially implement later on for the winning group, which was really fun to see. And then on our one-on-ones, the participants received feedback directly on their cover letters and their resumes. They completed a personality assessment, and they worked at another center for a couple hours one time throughout the program. So overall, this program was a lot of fun. I think it was very successful. I want to thank everyone that was a part of it, because I think, public speaking and going through interviews in front of people that it's not always easy, but people were willing to put themselves into uncomfortable situations to grow. So super, super proud of everyone that was a part of it. Chair Huffer, if I could use you now, what we're going to do is just have a little, we have a certificate for everyone who completed the program. So I'll call off your name if you wouldn't mind coming up here. And Chair Huffer will give you your certificate. Once you receive it, if you can stay up here, and then we'll go in front of the board for a quick group photo. So first one we have is Recreation Specialist from Borchard Community Center, Luis Cano. Okay, don't see him. We'll keep going. Recreation specialist from Thousand Oaks Community Center, Brianna Gonzalez. Marketing assistant, Juan Garcia. Brianna, stay up here, please. We're gonna take a group photo. It's okay. Recreation specialist from therapeutic unit, Jennifer Hill. Reservations clerk, Kylie Landon. Recreation coordinator from Global Adult Community Center, Mike McAdam. Recreation leader from Thousand Oaks Community Center, John Reed. Outreach worker from the Teen Center, Crystal Rodriguez. Recreation specialist from Conejo Community Center, Serene Thomas. And last but not least, I don't know if I see him, but Aaron Yount, recreation specialist from Borchard. Oh, he is here. All right. So again, I'd like to congratulate our first class, hopefully of many to come. And I also want to say thank you to our administrative team for supporting this and letting us do this program. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I think it's had a lot of great benefits. So if we could do a quick group photo, that would be awesome. Yeah. And if you want to jump in.
Yeah, new layers. Thanks on the volunteers that helped with on. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Good to see you, Jim. I like the jacket, Jim. You're nice.
It's a
My dad.
Okay. Moving along, item 4 on the agenda, items from the public. I do have 2 speaker cards. Both of those are for agenda items 7. Is it 7A? Do we have anybody online that wish to make public comments? Thank you. All right. Item 5 on the agenda, approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So move as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 6, consent calendar, 6A, approval of minutes, 6B, approval of warrants, and 6C, salary schedule. Yes, Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Mr. I just had one question on the payment register. It's page 8 of the register, 27 of our packet. Says, Play Conejo, an annual payout. I just was wondering what an annual payout is.
I'm happy to tackle that.
Okay.
So throughout the year, as people can contribute to Play Conejo through the registration, and then we also accrue some expenses for how much has been collected over the year and how much the expenses have been, and then the net of that. So that just happens every year.
Okay, so that's just the transfer of funds in from all those activities to the foundation.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That was it. And if there's no other comments, I'll be happy to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second from Director Buss. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 7A, deferred matters, public hearing. So I need to open the public hearing for the preliminary budget fiscal years 2023-24 and 2024-25. We're going directly to you, Ms. Smith.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. So just a brief refresher for you. We introduced our preliminary budget on April 6th, and we've been holding public hearings at all of our board meetings since. We had the proposed capital budget presented on May 4th. At our last meeting, we had the operating budget proposed, as well as a slight change to the capital improvement grant program that we did. And so the budget before you has no material changes since that date. But in recognition of what we've heard from the public comment, we added a note that the proposed budget includes capacity for the preliminary planning and proposed pilot projects regarding pickleball. And so with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Ms. Smith? Nothing down that end. Director Nichols.
One question. This Smith on page 44, the second page of your item on the policy matter. Just was I didn't quite catch the second half of that sentence. Wasn't quite sure what was meaning. It says which a report to the board for ratification. Is this basically that if the item is approved and yet not complete in the fiscal year, that you'll continue with it as approved until the next fiscal year? Is that?
Yes, so it's basically for our capital projects that are approved for the current year. If for some reason they're not complete by June 30, we're requesting that we maintain that spending authority until we can come to the board, usually in September, and say this is the amount that we need to carry over from the prior year and do a budget adjustment for that particular project. And we give those details as part of the year-end budget adjustments, typically in September. So this is just to allow that spending between July and September to allow those projects to continue instead of stopping until we can get you a perfect number.
Okay, but that's still just the authority to spend what was initially approved and no more than that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then just one last question. I think maybe this is just for the general manager. I don't know if we talked about this in our one of our I forget what we call them when we go over to some other location and talk about the next year, but about possibly the need to set aside funds for a headquarters facility. Is that something we could maybe add to year X? I don't think we have to do it for this budget, but somewhere out there just to kind of have that on in writing somewhere that it's something to think about in the future.
Yes, and we'll make sure we add that to year X. It would be really simple to do it now as a, unknown cost, but just like on year X, and technically 2027 is when we have you're talking about our administrative offices.
Yes, well,
so our lease is up in 2027. So between now and 2027, we need to either re-up our lease or have a new location to be. So it's actually a lot closer than year X.
True. Okay.
So the reality is it's going to have to be dealt with for sure.
Okay.
So,
well, wherever it needs to be parked, I'll leave that up to you and your staff, but I just thought if we, at least to include it as a line item for just to kind of tickle our memories and perhaps include also with that a performing arts center or whatever we want to call this wing, because we think of it all as the headquarters, but really we have multiple functions here. So yeah, just to put that on the book so we have it for planning purposes. And those conclude my comments on the budget issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Yes, Director Lang.
Yes, on page 43, under the second paragraph, under operating budgets, it references potential pilot projects for pickleball projects. And the ad hoc committee from the board, is there a time in the future that we can understand what the potential pilot projects are?
Yeah, so thank you, Director Lang. And I apologize, I lost my voice this week, so I will try to be brief and not be so scratchy. But basically, we would come up with a plan, come back to the committee, and then if the committee was okay with it, we would bring it back to the board for discussion and approval. So depending on the approach we would take with it. So it's to be determined, basically. And so it's in progress, and then we would kind of flush it through staff and then get it up to the committee level and then bring it back to the board.
Okay, so it's kind of a catch-all for whatever projects are coming in the future associated with.
The pickleball. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, and I can actually be a little more direct too than that, but the truth of the matter is we're gonna look at an potential overlay striping at tennis courts that we currently haven't looked at. And the committee's gonna weigh that and then bring a recommendation to the board, so.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Staff? If not, I do have 3 speaker cards on this agenda item. Again, we said in the past, if you're a later speaker and you're basically repeating what has already been said, I would say, I agree with the previous speaker said, and we can move on to the next one. And I should also say that it's been wonderful having such a large audience here for the last 2 months. Feel free to continue coming to our meetings. We'd love to see you. But with that, I didn't put my microphone on. First speaker is Catherine Nolan.
Hello again. My name is Catherine Nolan. I live in Thousand Oaks, and thank you for letting me speak again. I might come to every meeting just to speak because I'm having so much fun. But I wanted to first of all thank pickleball volunteers who are here today. If you wouldn't mind standing up. All these volunteers who pickleball is important to, and thank you for coming, and thank you for everything. So many volunteers do so much. We have Mary Lyman in the front row who handles what are they called? The ladder league. And Mary just met today, am I allowed to say, with the teen center about Ventura County Pickleball Club possibly helping them to teach teens pickleball at the teen center, the 2 courts that are there. And we have Linda Papas Diaz, who's our vice president for the Ventura County Pickleball Club. We have Sean in the back row, who met with the ad hoc committee and me and Jim. I think that he's going to give Jim a lot of money to build pickleball courts for CRPD. And right next to him, we have Kurt, who has recently been in contact with Jim Friedel and Andrew. I had a chance to introduce Kurt to Andrew earlier, but Jim was busy. So Kurt and Jim, you can meet each other. Kurt is researching possibilities for soundproofing and other things related to possible pickleball expansion. We have Alan Linderman, who is on our sponsorship committee for bringing in sponsors for our tournaments. And everybody has a role to some degree, and plus hundreds of other people. So I just wanted to thank them. And I wanted to thank the board and staff for making pickleball part of your process, this budget process. We really appreciate the attention that it's gotten. And thank you for the resurfacing of the courts at Rancho Conejo. I was stopped by there yesterday and it's all slurried with green paint. It looks fantastic. So we're looking forward to having non-slip courts this weekend. I wrote that we look forward to working with you to get more pickleball courts where we're ready to raise money, we're ready to do whatever, but you know that because I said that before. Oh, I wonder if, Jim, you mentioned that you might look into short-term solutions of lining pickleball courts on tennis courts, on existing tennis courts. Would Thousand Oaks Community Center be a possibility for that? I'm just wondering if that might be a possibility, and if it would, then you could, then CRPD could offer more classes to all the people who are trying to get classes, because you have so many courts there. That seems like a great place. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not this like dialogue is not probably the best thing, but I can say that the committee's got its, been through the committee process with the 5 priority locations, which are kind of the focal point. So those remain the top 5 for what we're looking at. I can say that the high school, I believe, uses our courts once in a while at TO, and CIF doesn't allow the overlay, so not likely. Is a short answer, but yeah, we're looking at options.
Great.
Okay, and Catherine, I just want to apologize. I was not able to make your anniversary event last Saturday. If it even happened, I guess it was a little drizzly and
It happened.
oh, good,
Director Lang came.
good.
So yes,
Good.
it happened. It was fun. Lots of donuts.
And even some shaped like pickleballs.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Dave Dolnick.
Hello, my name is Dave Dolnick. I've lived in Thousand Oaks now for 58 years. And during that time, CRPD has played an integral part of my life. I met my wife through a CRPD yoga class years ago. And now we're enjoying pickleball. We've recently, as of fall of last year, started playing pickleball and met a whole bunch of really nice people through the classes at CRPD. And right now we have a group of about 9 or 10 of us that we text each other to get together to play, either at Rancho Conejo or Del Prado. And I can't imagine that we're alone in that. I would imagine that if we did it, starting from the fall, that somebody in the winter, got a group of people together, passionate pickleball players like us. And even in this spring right now going on, there's probably 10 more people that are now trying to vie for court time and whatnot. So, it's been a pleasure, listening to all the goings on. I know that you guys are just so professional with everything that you do to, get priorities straight for all of the various things that CRPD does, and to consider, adding, a few more pickleball courts, hopefully. I know probably the 3-year, it's 3 years off, but whatever you can do short term, greatly appreciated. And just thank you for letting me speak and just bringing these concerns to you. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Next speaker is Sean Howie. And Sean, I am going to ask you to repeat what your grandson said about pickleball and.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Chuck. Excuse me, am I supposed to say Chair Huffer? Excuse me. Thank you. So today we met in the grocery store with my 3 grandchildren, and so Chuck, Chair Huffer asked my grandchildren, about how long the wait was. And my granddaughter, who is 11 years old, said it was really worth the wait to play pickleball. So there you go. So the board asked us last time to think about fundraising. So we have an idea, and so I'd like the board's thoughts or reactions. The idea, of course, is to raise money for new pickleball courts, but the idea is to recognize donors at the Rancho Conejo playfield to build new courts elsewhere. So we know that name recognition and naming walls and naming everything is not normally what you do. We've heard that a few different times, but we need something to sell, so to speak. And so what we'd like you to consider or think about would be, could we put a name on a court that would be valuable at Rancho Conejo playfield, saying, but then we're using that money to build a court someplace else. The second thing would be to have a permanent naming wall. If you give big money, you have a bigger name, and then also something like floor tiles or something there. So what we'd like you to think about is, even though you don't normally name things and so on, as I understand it at CRPD, maybe this would be an idea to help us raise the funds. That's it.
Any reaction? Nope. Okay.
I think that's something the committee, as part of its look at pickleball, can kind of examine and whatnot. So for sure, further discussion. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Thank you all very much. We have no other speaker cards. As always, you're welcome to stay for the balance of our meeting if you wish, but if you prefer to leave, that's okay too. We won't be too hurt if you do. So moving along to item 8 on our agenda, items for discussion. I don't believe we have anything.
Oh, wait, we need them. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was.
Like a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, details. Melissa's going.
Melissa.
All right, so let's take a step back. We'll stay on 7A. We do have, this is a resolution. So I need a motion in the form of a resolution. Who would like? Yes, Director Cussworth.
So I recommend that we adopt resolution 061520023-A, adopting the fiscal years 2023-24 and 2024-25 budgets for all funds as attached and policy matter contained in the body of this memorandum, that it be read in title only and that all future readings be waived.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Can I get a second? Director Buss? Thank you very much. We have a motion of second. May we have the reading, Madam Secretary?
Resolution number 061523-A, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Conejo Recreation and Park District adopting the fiscal year 2023-24 and 2024-25 budgets for this district.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion second in the reading. Are there any questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll go to item 8. Sorry about that, Melissa. No items for discussion. Item 9, new items, 9A, Page Lane Landscaping Project, our horse. Mr. Mooney will.
I was about to say, it's not a horse project, it's a neighborhood park. You're just talking about me. Thank you, Chair Hopper, members of the board. If you remember, back in August 2021, the board approved the contract to build Page Lane Neighborhood Park. During construction, we hit pretty extreme drought conditions. Originally, we were planning to put about 3 acres of turf into the park. We decided to propose to the board to put that on hold just due to the water situation, and can complete the park with just mulch, but pre-plumb the irrigation in those turf areas. So we finished the contract, finished the park with the contractor. Obviously, we've been very wet, and up north they've gotten a lot of snow. So our water situation has changed quite a bit. So we're back here tonight after staff has put out the project out to bid to rototill, install turf rotors, as well as install sod. The sod that we're using is a drought tolerant Bermuda warm season grass. So it's probably the least water using grass possible, but it will provide a good open passive play area for the neighbors in the community. We're looking to award to FS contractors. We put it out to bid, and there was 3 bidders that showed up for the mandatory job bid, and 3 actually bid on the project. We are very familiar with FS contractors. They've done a lot of work with us, whether it's a new development or recurring landscape projects. So staff's pretty comfortable with them, and they met all the requirements of the bid, as well as licensing and all that good stuff. So I am here for questions if you have any questions.
Questions from Mr. Mooney? Yes, Director Cusworth.
So I'm assuming that they were all bidding on the exact same project, but it seemed odd that one of the companies' price was double. Were
Yeah.
they adding something different than the other people were?
No, that happens from time to time. We're not familiar with Cormex. They're actually out of area. So depending on how they are boarding and feeding their folks and getting them from home to the job site, I think costs obviously go up. But if they're not familiar with the work that we do and then it's a little bit different, right? So depending on their comfort level, what they're bidding. These two other contractors we have worked with in the past, so that's why their numbers are a bit more competitive and closer together.
Okay, thank you very much.
And a question, Director Lang.
Yes, Andrew, when we initially put this out to bid, assuming that we didn't have the drought, we would have included the turf, correct?
Correct.
And the recipient of that first contract was Marina.
Correct.
I was surprised that they did not bid for this particular project for the turf.
Yeah, and sometimes depending on the amount of a contract, there's limited interest from some contractors from out of the area. Marina's down in, I believe, Orange County is their headquarters. So they were interested in building it ended up being 4.1 million total, but their contract minus some
Right.
fees and things. But so sometimes they lose interest in bidding something that's smaller in smaller scale. Plus being out of area, that maybe they weren't interested or to workload and things like that. So
Yeah. Well,
Just varies.
again, I was just a bit surprised because when you do a
Yep.
project, you want to finish it up and have your name for the whole project or the park or whatever. But anyway, I understand your explanation. Thank you.
Yes, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This may be a question for Ms. Smith, but with a projected balance of $990,000 remaining, am I remembering correctly that we actually loaned money from one fund to another to support this project with whatever remaining balance? Will that automatically go back, or will this be one of those funds at the end of the year that the board just decides on where that ends up?
So you are correct. We did a loan from the general fund to the capital fund. And so that remaining 990 would be in the capital fund, and we would have the ability to either use that for other capital projects or return it back to the general fund.
Okay, and is that something that would come up at year end once we're deciding what's left over, so to speak, or
Yes.
spent?
And so at year end, once we know, probably after we close the audit and have the financial statements, that's when we would have that discussion.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Just one brief question. You said the turf is going to be sod.
correct.
Okay. Typically, that's more expensive. Would I be correct in thinking that be less water used to start sod as opposed to growing turf from seed?
Depending on how you look at it, yeah, I think it's more about the product. It's very tough to seed areas sometimes with that large of acreage and keep people out of it. So it's a risk. I would have to run numbers specifically to look, but an established sod would most likely take less water than starting a sod or plant from seed. So, but it's more factors of survivability. We're gonna have to fence this off, which means dogs are gonna run on it because it's gonna be a dog park. People are gonna want to jump in there early. We got to keep it closed off for a few weeks during the establishment of it. So it's kind of that balance of it's worth the investment to be able to have a good grass in the park.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions of staff? If not, I will try to remember this time to entertain a motion to approve staff recommendation. Director Lang.
Yes, it's my pleasure to move the staff recommendation awarding the bid to FS Contractors, Inc. for $155,000 base bid plus contingency for Page Lane turf.
Thank you. We have a motion
I'll second that.
and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries unanimously. Item 9B, agreement between CVUSD and the Park District regarding youth outreach.
Thank you, Chair Heffer, members of the board. So as you guys know, we have a youth outreach program. It's run by 3 staff and we have been doing it for many, many years. Originally, I believe we partnered with the city and did it, and it was a shared program with the city and us. Over the years, the school district had decided they wanted SROs. So the city paid for the SROs, and then the school district partnered with us in regards to the outreach program. So we've been running it for a while. We had updated the MOU in 2018, and it's just time for us to renew it. So we've worked with the school district. And there was a little bit of changes going on here. So we had done an amendment, and after the school district looked through everything, they wanted a couple of changes. So that's why you got a supplemental also. But basically it's the same information. It's $100,000 for 3 consecutive years. And then we would bring it back to them in the 3rd year. So that is pretty much the gist of everything. The outreach workers do work at all the middle schools and the high schools. You guys get those reports. And they are basically focused on non-involved and hard to reach adolescents. So they work in the teen center and the schools, and then they work out in the community at some housing or apartment areas also. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Yes, Director Cussworth.
So it says they're part-time employed by CRPD. Are they just part-time? Are they full-time employees who just do part-time with the outreach, or are they just part-time employees?
They're 30 to 35 hour a week employees.
Okay, that seems like a lot of work, but all right, so that's what they do. And then you're splitting the cost with the school district. Is there anything besides wages? Is there any other costs to this?
There's
program?
about $10,000 in programming expenses,
Okay,
and that's it.
so do these people have other jobs on top of this job? Or I
Not
guess
that
you don't know?
2 of them, I do not believe they do. One has a family business that he helps his family with.
Oh, okay. It's just they do such amazing work. And I remember that, Pete was doing that for many years, and it was just, I'm glad that we're continuing on with that.
Yeah, so Pete was full-time. In the budget, there is 1 full-time position and 2 part-time positions. With COVID and everything, and when Pete retired, we decided to go with 3 part-time positions as we figured everything back out. So as we're going into our 2nd year back in this, actually in the schools, we are having staff look at if that is something we want to bring back as an additional, a full-time person with 2 part-time people, or if we might want to do something different. So the
Okay.
dollars stay the same. So it's just a matter of figuring out what the needs are to meet the community's needs and the kids' needs.
I think that's why I was a little confused, because I was pretty sure that Pete was a full-time
Pete was
employee.
full-time.
So I was just wondering how that was working out.
Yeah. Pete was full-time, and then one person was like 30 hours a week and one person was like 20, 25 hours. All 3 of them now are 30, 35 hours a week.
Okay. All right. Thank you for
currently.
clarifying that.
Any other, Director Lang?
Yes, thank you, Chair Huffer. Rochelle, I know this was specifically fine tuning the agreement by the school district, some of their desired changes and so forth. But was this also an opportunity for CRPD to get feedback on the overall program, their satisfaction, or any suggestions of changing the actual outreach program?
We talk to them every year about the services that we provide, and that's why there's the service plan in the packet also, and they will give input on that. So when we first came back from COVID, they had given us some input on some stuff. The school district has added some new things that weren't there before COVID, that some mental health type services that they're doing on school sites. So we are, we adjust as they need us to adjust. But yes, our staff team is in communication with their leadership.
So it's kind of fine tuned, it's brought up to current innovations or other information that our park district, your department, et cetera, gathers from around the country or around the state or something as far as new and unique programs that benefit our outreach program. So there is that opportunity to continually, solicit other information about similar outreach programs or whatever.
Yeah, like staff, like our full-time staff, like Sarah will be going to NRPA this year. So she'll be able to have the opportunity to talk to other people from other organizations in regards to teen center type stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As we read the reports in our recreation report, there's always some information that I find, very not only interesting and seeing what they can accomplish for our youth, but things that are very productive. They provide a lot of support for youth at risk or whatever. So I'm really pleased that we have such a program. I don't know how many other park districts, have similar programs, and to the extent that we get involved. And congratulations to you and your department, but specifically our 3 outreach part-time employees.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It wasn't quite clear in reading through the report about when this program actually started, because it talks about the 2018 agreement, and yet it's been happening for many years. How many agreements have there been in the past? I mean, is this something that's been going on for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? I mean, what's the history behind it?
We don't have the exact year, but Jim's gonna step in here.
I have a little bit of history. So I arrived 20 years ago and the program was already like
Yeah.
a very well-established, long-standing program. And it initially started with all 3 agencies together: city, school district, park district. And then it was with the introduction of the SROs that the city said, hey, SRO cost is our share. That's plenty. If you, CRPD and school district, want to keep the youth outreach going, that'll be for you guys to do together. We're going to focus on the SROs in the schools. So that's how that transition occurred. And so now we're just in a post-COVID, new model where they're looking a little harder at what it is that we do and what the student population needs today. And I think mental health is a huge piece of that, current issues,
Okay.
But it's a very long-standing program.
Well, that was my understanding too, and I didn't see any documentation, not that it has to be there, but I thought there might have been something there. So, okay, thank you. I did have a question, and I haven't verified this in the supplemental packet that we have here. But on page 120 of the packet, which is actually the independent contractor professional services agreement form from the school district, about midway through the page, it talks about the contractor certifies, and I believe the contractor is referring to the park district, and it has the box checked as a partnership. I don't think that the park district is legally considered a partnership, so I'm wondering why that box is checked.
I believe that document was taken out. Remain the same page. What was it? Page?
It was page 120. It's the first
No.
page of the
Well,
form.
that
there.
remains the same, are not needed for moving forward. A couple of years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, they started doing these contracts. And when they do the contracts, they consider us that partner. They weren't going to do an MOU this year, and then they decided to do it. So they're not focusing on that as much.
Well, I was gonna say, as a business description, partnership is very specific legally as to what a partnership is. And the park district is not that. So I would have to say that is incorrect and should be changed.
Yeah, and to the extent this form, this this independent contractor professional service agreement to the extent we actually need it. In light of the MOU, I don't know that we do need it. It's in here because at one time they were thinking that's what they wanted, but we modified
Yeah, if we don't need it,
things,
take it out.
but yeah, the box other and probably said independent special district would be
Right.
the way to
right.
do it. So.
And again, I don't
I
want to,
think that, and I'm looking at my notes and sorry, I'm kind of the board packet remain the same. Pages 120 and 129 are not needed forward, moving forward.
Okay,
So that's
all
on the second one. I was like, I don't think that's what changed. And one of the reasons why we got
Okay.
the supplemental
Okay.
is because as it went through their processes,
Sure.
they were like, wait, we don't need this. So yeah, so pages 120 and 129 are not needed moving
okay,
forward.
good. Yeah, because I mean, not that it makes a difference in how we work with the school
Yeah.
district, but I'm always thinking about the what ifs. There could be some legal complication in the future.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So it's not in the supplement,
Okay,
the second
good.
part.
Good.
Mhm.
And then lastly, I too was questioning the part-time employee 35-hour, and I've brought this issue up before. They do a lot of work in that organization. And I hear about it from the people at the schools too. And I don't know, and I know we talked about this with the, all the benefits and everything else. And that sometimes there's a desire on their part to only work that amount. But it seems to me like if they, if there is some need to have more than 35 hours of work because there is so much for these people to do. And I know they do a lot of work, and I think we should explore that. So I don't think we're going to resolve that here tonight under this issue, but I do think it's something we need to look at a little closely to see, especially with the needs that are increasing, how best to address that. So I'll just leave that as a thought for the board to consider as we move forward in the future. But thank you for the explanation so far. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions? Has the school board approved this yet?
No, we'll go to their board meeting on Wednesday, I believe. I think that's our meeting dates.
Okay, but
So I'm s-
presumably.
Yeah, I need to
presumably-
get them this, hopefully with our signatures on it tomorrow.
Okay, so I was pleasantly surprised that the school district is looking to do this for another 3 years, because at the State of the Schools luncheon several months ago, I don't recall their source of funding, but they said they were planning on spending a lot more money on counseling. And I thought, ooh, I wonder if that's going to kill off our program. So interesting that they want to continue this. Okay, if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion to act on staff recommendation. Director Cusworth.
So I recommend that the Board of Directors approve amendment number 1 between the Conejo Recreation and Park District and the Conejo Valley Unified School District regarding the funding for the youth outreach program.
Thank you very much. Can I get a second? Director Buss? Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Rochelle. Moving along to 9C, MRCA preliminary budget. It has the word budget in it. I'm guessing this goes to Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Chair Huffer and Directors. So this is the preliminary budget for the MRCA. And so if you can put in your brains my multicolored Death Star example from a few meetings ago. The MRCA does their budgeting process. It varies so much every year that they actually do a 1-year budget cycle. The budget has to get approved, both the preliminary and final, by all 4 boards. So CRPD, MRCA, Rancho Simi, and the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. It was approved by the MRCA board last week. It's going to Rancho Simi next week and the Conservancy the following. In order to develop the preliminary budget, we take the current year actual projections and then make adjustments for the significant non-reoccurring items that we're aware of. Typically, those changes involve any large acquisitions or large construction projects that we're working on, and those are usually reflected in the grant lines that you'll see. And then I just wanted to highlight a few of the different things on both the revenue and expense side. On the revenues, one of the changes on the investment earnings, earnings similar to CRPD have been pretty up and down because of the market volatility. So we took the average from prior years, but then also because MRCA established a reserve fund in the last 2 years, there's new investments potential because of that new reserve. So that's a little increase from the average before, but not as high as the expected actuals from this year, which included a lot of market recovery. The filming revenue that we are anticipating is reduced largely because of the current writer strike, and there's another anticipated filming related strike that I can't remember which entity, but so that's why the filming revenue is anticipated to be lower than the current estimate. And then as the notes also indicate, there are big amounts in grants that are expected due to potential land acquisitions. And then some of the one-time funding that have been designated in our reserve funds. On the expense side, I wanted to highlight a couple things. So the salaries and benefit increases, that it has an 8% increase, and that's to address not only any potential COLAs, the increase in pension costs, minimum wage increases because it includes City of LA, which goes into effect July 1, medical, and then the scheduled step increases for staff. But even though there is an increase from the current year actuals, it's actually less than the budgeted amount for last year. So, and that's due to a lot of longtime employees leaving. The land and improvements category we know is going to change in our, because we have a lot of future acquisitions that are dependent on the state budget being passed. So once the governor signs that, then those numbers will change, and that'll be reflected in the final budget that comes. It'll probably go to the other boards in August and then to us in September. And then finally, I did want to call your attention just to the insurance line. You can see that the insurance costs have doubled for the MRCA since the Woolsey fire. And that's greatly affecting the overhead rate. And so we are looking into other options to reduce that premium there. With that, I'm available for any questions. And again, we'll be coming with a more refined budget with all the potential funding sources identified for you in September.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Melissa? Director Nichols?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one question on your comment regarding the impact of the city of Los Angeles changes. How in reality does that impact the MRCA? Is it based on the fact that there is land owned within the city of LA, or there are employees that live in the city of LA? Because obviously the entirety of the organization is not within the city of LA. So I'm just wondering how that affects those numbers.
Yeah, so we've actually done the analysis to see how we could potentially interpret all of that. And it turned out that over 90% of the staff at some point in the year do work in the city of LA. And so that was the standard that we were like, okay, and the minimum wage actually only impacts, I think, 26 of the 175 employees. So we just make that be the minimum wage adjustment for that one classification that gets affected.
Okay, I just know you juggle lots of things with MRCA, and I thought, okay, here's another one.
Yes.
So, okay, yeah, thanks. You just kind of tweaked my thinking a little bit, but thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? I should know this most, but I've forgotten. Are the MRCA employees represented?
No.
Okay, so that's one less thing you have to worry about.
True.
All right.
Creates other problems.
Yeah, well. Okay, so we have a staff recommendation. I'll entertain a motion. Director Nichols.
Approval. Budget established.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Come on, folks. Okay, thank you, Director Cusworth. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Moving along to 9D, amendment number 3, the agreement with ETI for use of Conejo Creek West Equestrian Park. Who is handling this?
Yep.
Me, you,
I'll handle it.
you're gonna do it?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
My neck's getting sore. Which way?
Thank you, thank you, Chair Hupper, members of the board. We've had a long time partnership with ETI. We formalized the agreement back in 2008. This is the third amendment to the agreement. Very similar to a lot of our user groups where we're not equestrians, so we rely on the equestrian community to do their recreation. However, it's on our facility. and we partner with them. Obviously ETI has utilized our grant program over the years. We work, our staff works closely with them on facility maintenance and things that come up. But however, the equestrian specific type items on the property, ETI manages and works on that. This amendment is a little bit different from past amendments. Typically, we're at like a 5-year schedule with these. We're looking at a 1-year schedule. Past few months, staff as well as ETI and another possible partnership equestrian group that's been talking with ETI has been in discussions about opportunity at the property. And so we felt it was best, and ETI felt it was best that we continue the relationship, but change the term, and then we would come back to the board with any recommendation either to extend ETI within the next year or with possible other changes. So with that, I'm available, or Jim's available for questions.
Any questions for either? You're about to
No
raise your,
questions. I just have a comment.
well, go ahead. I looked at you and I'm not gonna turn my
Okay.
head again.
Thank you, Chair Huffer. Andrew mentioned, the long-term relationship with ETI Corral, the CRPD has had. But going way back 20, 30 years ago, ETI Corral would sponsor a trail ride. And on a Saturday morning, they would invite all the elected officials, city council, park district, and school district to go on this trail ride. And it was an experience that, just riding the horses and so forth, but I kind of grew up riding horses. But to be together with your other elected officials in an event like this, and then we had a lunch. I think we rode up the mountain above, or hills above Kevington in that area from the ETI Corral, Conejo Creek North spot. But anyway, it was just, I thought, a neat, experience. I don't know if they can still think about doing something like that, but maybe it can be mentioned and see if that's something they might consider. It's just kind of unique, if, together with your elected officials and having riding a horse and so forth. Anyway, that just occurred to me when you talked about the long-term relationship that we've had.
Do you ride horses often still?
Not anymore. In my bad back. Bless your heart. Yeah, no, I used.
Okay. Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a question on the agreement, but it's not specific to ETI. On page 2 of the agreement, item number 6, this is on page 160 of the packet, item number 6, talks about the district basically paying for all utilities. My question was, is this like common language through all of our agreements, whether it's the community garden, the botanic garden, the Stagecoach Museum? Is this there where the district pays for all utilities at all these locations?
So unless we have folks that can see it, so there's limitations where it's typically ground.
Okay, that was it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I guess the exception to that would be that any of the lighted fields that user groups have to pay for the lights. They have to pay for that electricity, so.
I think the Stagecoach Inn and Chino pay for their electricity also.
Anyway, is it premature at this point to ask what alternatives are being looked at that site?
Correct, yeah, unless Jim wants to add something, but it's more really beginning conversations with all parties, so.
Yeah, there's just somebody is working on trying to form an alliance with ETI to come in with some bucks to do a lot of rehab and upgrades to the equestrian facilities, and the what's the catch kind of thing is out there. Like, okay, so obviously it's a public park, and is there any threat to it remaining public and open to everyone, or is there more of a membership based proposal, that kind of thing, or very, very large events that would be required to generate revenue to pay for the cost of the improvements, or is it just total benevolence and some equestrian lover wants to put multi-million dollars into upgrading the facility. So we're exploring what that looks like.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
little early. Okay, for no further question.
I'm sorry, I did have one other question. I forgot to look at my notes. I don't see like an area description as far as what this is. I know we have a dog park over there. We've got the community garden, and you can pretty much see where those are. When it comes to the equestrian center, there's several corrals throughout the whole rest of the open space. So is this agreement basically for everything that's not the community park and the dog park? Or is this just to a specific area?
Yeah, the community garden, the dog park would clearly be excluded, and pretty much everything else is the Conejo Creek
Correct.
Equestrian
Yep.
Park. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we talked about just, normal, you're trying to refine your process and stuff. And that's a conversation that we've had with other user groups or ETI, just, hey, designating it maybe with a map diagram or something like that. Because sometimes it is vague from some of these older agreements.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. No further questions or comments. We do have a staff recommendation to act upon. I entertain a motion, please. Director Nichols.
Yes, I'll make a motion to follow staff's recommendation to authorize the general manager to enter into the agreement with ETI.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Lang. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 9E, California Special Districts Association 2023 Board Elections. I'm assuming Mr. Friedel.
Not even looking at the packet right now. I know that we have several candidates interested in running for the CSDA board, and this matter has traditionally been a completely purview of the elected CRPD board on who you would like to nominate. Staff doesn't usually provide any kind of recommendation. It's just, those are the folks.
Director Lang.
Yes, there is one candidate, and I recall speaking to him in our last election. And that is Brad from the whoops,
Marina Coast.
I apologize. Totally, I turned the wrong page. From Vincent Ferrante, incumbent. I interacted with him. We've had special tours during various conferences up in the Monterey and Santa Cruz areas. And this fellow is very hands-on, very enthusiastic in reference to special districts and so forth. So if no other nominations, I would like to nominate Vincent Ferrante.
Any other comments? Director Nichols?
I would second that recommendation. I also had a conversation with Mr. Ferrante, and he's got quite the heritage in that part of the state. His whole lifetime, basically, and the family goes beyond that. And he's got his hands in just about everything, knows everybody and everybody's relatives. And as long as he'd be willing and able to do it, I would certainly support his continuing to do so.
Okay, so we effectively have a motion a second to cast our ballot for Vincent Ferrante. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Carries unanimously. Item 10, reports and announcements, recreation highlights. Rochelle.
I don't report out, correct? You just asked me about your questions. Right?
Does anybody have any questions on? Director Wayne.
Thank you, Chair Huffer and Rochelle. Getting different information depending on what I'm told or read about the attendance or the count as stated in the staff report at the kickoff for Memorial Day concert. Here it says 5,000 and I'd heard 4,000. Personally, I estimated less, but anyway, do we still just utilize the amount of money that the mimes take in and do some manipulating to determine how many are there? Is that still our method?
I have never used that method, but, I mean, we raised about $3,000 on the mimes, if that helps you with that, over a little over $3,000. So no, we look at the audience and we gauge it off of other large events, and both Tim and I thought this was probably the biggest, if not the second biggest, since we've been around. So we're guessing give or take about 5,000 people. I mean, it was pretty packed and it went all the way down to the bottom. So, I mean.
I would agree in that regard, but
Mhm.
I know that was a method that had been used for years, even since you had been here. But and whether you participated, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Brenda did it that way or not.
Yeah. But nowadays with the modern technology, I would think drone observations and, determining a certain square area, how many people, and I think you get a more accurate number of attendants. Whether we have that drone availability, I don't know.
I don't
But I
believe that
just
we're
think-
allowed to fly our drones over people.
Pardon?
I don't believe we're allowed to fly the drone over people.
Well, I've seen drones there
Yeah.
for years. They're not real close.
Yeah,
But you get high, you can magnify once you get the photo results, and then certain area, you got so many people and you just multiply it.
I can check with Matt and see if that's something he can do one day and see.
Yeah, it just, to see a consistent estimation of attendees, it just, kind of not bothered me, but it just wasn't, confident in the numbers. Because again, this says 5,000 and we've heard 4,000 and so forth, so.
Actually, I have a pretty darn good method. And it takes you a little bit of time, but you literally create a box with your hands
Okay,
and you count the number of people in that box. And then you just go through the crowd.
How many boxes?
Yeah,
okay. Well,
it's
that's
it's been pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is
Yeah.
accurate. And was that what was used in determining this 5,000 number?
I don't think so. I
No,
didn't do
it
it.
was not.
Yeah. No, that's what I've done in the past, but I can kind of stand on the park and almost pretty closely guess based on having done this for a lot of years, how many people are there from prior counts and prior concerts, But I mean, it's all a guess, right? It's all just estimating.
Yeah, okay.
Like I counted at the pop-up at the Stagecoach Inn. I wanted to be pretty accurate and I did my little box method. I got 500 to 550. And as soon as the city told me the next day, we had about 500 there. I'm like, yes, you did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
okay. Anyway, just curious as to what the procedure is and determine these numbers. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on reports and announcements? Director Buss.
So I went to the Safe Passage event and I thought it was awesome. We showed up after soccer, so we were there a little later, but it was really cool to see all of that and the entertainment. So thanks for putting that on.
Anybody else? No? Move along to department reports now. Parks Division.
Good news, we've hired a planner. So I'm pretty
Hey,
stoked about that. Rebecca Christie, she's has background in landscape architecture. She recently worked down in San Bernardino County, so she started on Monday. So she kept coming back day after day this week, so which is good.
sign.
But yeah, it seems like a good fit, and so we're getting her acquainted with all of our facilities and all good stuff. So you guys will be, and she's in my old office. So if you guys are in the office, feel free to stop by and say hi. And then more kind of park work stuff. Dos Nietos playground's coming along. We're a couple weeks out. But it's getting really close. And then we are looking to start Wildflower Playground next week. So, and then the next playground will be probably Russell in another few weeks to a month, depending on timing and things like that. So I'm available for questions if you have any.
Any questions for Andrew? No, I just wanted to thank you for the list of 10 playgrounds so I can newer playgrounds that I can take my grandkids to. So thank you very much for that.
You gotta provide a report card though. Which is their favorite?
I will tell them that there is a test afterwards. So
Perfect.
good. All right. Now Recreation Division.
Thank you, Chair Huffer, members of the board. So a couple of things. This lovely person sitting back here is Raquel, broker, Melissa and I share her, and you guys have probably met her. She's been answering the phone. So you've been about 6 months now, almost? 7. Oh, 7. Okay. And she's shadowing Aline tonight. So we can give Aline vacation sometimes. And she does all our reports. Now it's no longer James that does all my reports. It's Raquel that's helping me with that now. So just a reminder, Touch a Truck is on Saturday. We actually are going to have a special Make-A-Wish guest at our event, a young man that picked Touch a Truck as his place for Make-A-Wish.
nice. Oh,
So
nice.
it's really cool. And we're very proud and happy to be part of that. Reminder, camps and pools are opening on Monday, and oh my goodness, the amount of training and staff hiring and craziness that has been going on. But staff are feeling very comfortable and very excited and very happy with their staff right now. So I'm looking forward to a great summer with these guys. So the camps and the pools open next week, but the actual like summer classes that are in the guide start the week after. With that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Rochelle? Yes, Director Buss.
I have a comment, not a question. So many of my girlfriends were talking about summer camps and talking about how much more affordable our camps are than the school district camps, which I thought was interesting. Because I didn't compare the two, and they were like, it's crazy how much more affordable the care is through us than doing theirs. And I was like, oh, kudos to us.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Move along to Management Services.
Thank you, Chair Huffer and board members. So thank you for approving the budget and making my life easier. But also we had the auditors here for the interim audit week. So they've been with us all week, and today was their last day. So I just want to shout out for our accounting staff. They did a great job, and we all still like each other. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Melissa? No?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay.
I just want to thank you for doing such a wonderful job. I don't think it would be an easy job, and you're so professional. You get everything done, and you always have a smile. So thank you very much.
And to add to that, it's not just one organization, but 2 organizations that you're doing all this work for. So double thanks for all that work. Okay.
Chair Huffer,
Yes, sir.
real quick. In reference to, oh my gosh, George. It was going to be a positive comment. I'm sorry, I just drew a blank. Forget it.
No, okay, then we will move on to General Manager's report. Mr. Friedel.
All right, I am not going to go down the list of all the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks, because I think you guys will mention a lot of those in your board report, except a few things. I feel like I really have to do the shout out for Melissa for the budget, but it actually is each and everybody, each person up there, all the administrators, Aline, everybody has a lot of hands-on work to help it all come together. And it starts in January or even maybe before. So this is a big night because it's like, we, got the 2-year budget. But on top of that, this week, Capri was down, and they referred to them as their cycle 13 district visitation. But what it really is, it's just like a safety and risk management audit. And that involves pulling together dozens and dozens of documents and forms and policies and compliance manuals, and having this giant, demonstrate that we're doing all the best practices that we can with our safety and risk management stuff. So that meeting was Wednesday as well. And then Andrew took Kirk around the district to actually inspect, 7 or 8 parks or something like that. So everybody was involved in that too, plus Shelley. Shelley has a ton of the work as well. So just fantastic leadership staff here at CRPD. I'm super lucky and grateful. And having the budget done and that the pre-stuff done is fantastic. Had a pretty good meeting with some senior city folks out at, in the field at Rolling Oaks Neighborhood Park. So they are aware of our interest in getting some sort of a public access from the existing Rolling Oak Street through what is a city street that's currently used as a parking lot / the future cancer center that EIR is being prepared now. So they're aware of our need for access and stuff. So that was a good meeting in the field. Really grateful to the city for having, high level attention on that issue. We are also trying to figure out ways to work with the city and their council on aging and our senior commission. So I know Rochelle's going to talk to her staff about some of that. So that's out there as well. And then just kind of looking forward, something coming up that you guys might want to put on your calendar. I don't know if it made it yet, but I'm getting a ton of emails about Ventura County's 150th anniversary. And that I think is next Friday. Based on all the emails I've gotten, they're, I think they're trying to hit everybody, but it's at Ventura County Museum. And it's open to the public. It's just their way of celebrating or kicking off their 150th anniversary. And there's going to be all sorts of exhibits and at the Ventura County Museum and stuff on the history of Ventura County. And we are part of that county. So if you're interested, that might be a fun thing to attend. And I'll forward an email if you haven't heard of it yet. With that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions from Mr. Friedel? George?
A comment that finally came to me, and Melissa, compliment you because I know we have a new audit firm that you're working with. And I know there's always bumps and different things to get used to when you're dealing with a new entity and so forth. So in all your accomplishments that you do, along with dealing with a new audit firm, you're to be congratulated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the general manager? If not, we'll move along to directors' reports and follow-up reports on meetings, conferences attended. Start down at this end with Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. See, on June 6th, I met with our chair at the pickleball committee, ad hoc committee. And then that evening attended the Ventura County Special Districts Association meeting, learned all about the Ventura Harbor, which was very interesting. Or I guess that was the day after, on the 7th. No, it was the same day. Yeah, the same day. Okay, good. And then on the 6th, that was on the 6th. On the 7th, I had a Zoom California Association of Rec and Park Districts Board of Directors meeting. And then this morning I spoke to the senior group at one of our local churches and talked about activities for adults in our community. And so I kind of went a little bit of everything, telling them that playgrounds were for grandparents, all the way up to hiking and the adult center. And there's a group of about 60, 65 people there. And to attend this group, you have to be over 50. They don't card at the door, but if you have to be over age 50. And I was surprised at how many people were completely unaware of the Goebel Senior, well, I say senior, adult center, which is largely for seniors. And yet how many people are there 3 or 4 times a week? And a lot of these people have been in the community for decades and really were completely oblivious to our adult activities in the center. So, it just kind of was a reminder to me that as much as we think we're getting information out there, that there's always somebody that still hasn't heard it yet. So kudos to you, because I know that Rochelle, you and your team are doing a great job to keep things out there. But I'm also thinking there's not too many of that age group that probably have Instagram. So, how you reach those, and of course, many of them mentioned that they got the rec guide, but they probably look at it and think, oh, okay, I don't have any grandkids playing soccer, so I don't need to look at this. So again, it's another, element to reach for, and how we do that, I'll let your marketing expertise figure that out. But there is very interested in it, but they just were I would say completely, a lot of them were completely oblivious to the opportunities that we have in our community that are either through or partnership with the Park District. So it was very educational for me as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Director Cuthworth.
So I just had a question. Do you know if those seniors that didn't know about the Global Center lived in Newbury Park? Do you know where they live?
Actually, they live throughout town and even
They
outside
live
of
too,
town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That seems hard to think that they wouldn't know about the Global Center. I mean, it's right there next to the library. You know, it's in a pretty obvious place in our city. Yeah, it has so much. It's a very exciting place. Okay, so I went and played pickleball with Catherine and Chuck and their director Huffer and my husband Harvey. We all went. I improved. I won't say I was good, but I think I improved. Don't you think? I got a little better. So yes, it was crowded. It was fun to go. So I was glad to go there and do that. I was also at the pop-up concert at the Stagecoach Inn. Mr. Friedel, did we see each other there? So there were enough people at that concert that I did not see Director Buss and I did not see Mr. Friedel, but it was fun. Everybody was having a good time. I think these pop-up concerts are catching on because when they first started a few years ago, I went to a couple and there weren't many people there. And this time it was completely packed with lineups at the bathrooms. I mean, it was, and everybody seemed to be having a great time and it was kind of chilly outside even. And it was great. So I'm hoping that I get to a few more of those maybe before they're over. It's a great idea. I was at Safe Passage and I think I sort of had the advantage because we do watch our grandchildren a lot on Saturdays. So I took them and it is the kind of activity where it's good to bring a kid because we stayed there a long time. They were doing the rock climbing, the face painting. They just sat there watching the dunking. So they got a few people dunked. They dunked Kurt. They thought that was fabulous. We ate, we had Chick-fil-A, we had tacos. We got drinks. I mean, it was like they had a great time. And my granddaughter even saw somebody that she knew from school there. So it was an excellent activity. And Julia Brownlee was there. So she was talking. Anyway, it was fabulous. I was also at the VCSDA. I thought it was fascinating. In fact, I went home and Googled ports and harbors and what makes the difference and what types of harbors are there? What types of ports are there? How do you decide where to build a harbor or a port? I actually couldn't get as much information as I wanted. I wanted to see before and after pictures of the harbor because he was saying that it used to be like a landfill there and then all the different things. And, you know, what's interesting to me is they started building it in the 1960s. I just always sort of thought it was there. You know, you don't often think of the history of something. It's like, well, yeah, that harbor's always been there, but it hadn't always been there. And it took a lot of work. And all of the harbors and ports in Ventura County are man-made. So, I mean, these were things that I learned about. And then when I was reading some articles, it did mention that it was a special district. And that all of the land was held by a special district, which is another thing I really didn't know much about until I joined CRPD, all of the special districts that are in California. So that was a very educational and lovely. And it was the first meeting I had been to VCSDA since COVID, because I had always gone on Zoom. And I kind of liked it on Zoom, but it was nice to get out also. So. I was at the Pioneer Jamboree at the Stagecoach Inn, which Kathy, you were in charge of that, weren't you? Yes, she was going all over. They had over 500 people come, and I remember we used to be happy to get 300. And someone came and told me that what did you sell? About 480 tickets by 11 o'clock? Okay.
We're very pleased. We had over 100 inside and outside booths. So we had 750 people on the phone.
Yeah, it was really, I didn't get there till 1 o'clock and it was wonderful for me because I was surprised. in that, I walked in and guess who was there? The square dancers. So I felt like I was surrounded by friends. And it was sort of nice to see that kind of a community interaction. The square dancers were bringing in all of the patrons that were there to kind of teach them dances that the pioneers in this country danced around. It's a very much of an American dance. So it's always nice. I also talked to Juliet. She had her crew there. And so I went and talked with the two crew members and they were showing me the things that they did and they had the spinner going and they were giving things out. And it's only been in the last couple of years that we've had actual CRPD people from, I think it was the Conejo community both times that came out, wasn't it? Yes. I have to say that Kathy's put a lot of energy into the Pioneer Jamboree and it's been a huge success and a lot of people were coming out. And I went to the last Sim Speaker Series also, which was also very interested. They just started that 2 years ago and Pam, who was talking, she was the one that originated it and she'll be leaving. So she asked me to do it. So we'll see if people now are saying to me, you're retiring, aren't you? I said, yeah, I guess I can. So we'll see if I can do as well as she did. But I think it's wonderful in our community because CASAF is having, they've stayed with Zoom. They're having a speaker series. Chumash often has a speaker series. The Global Center has a speaker series. Stagecoach is having a speaker series, and just all of the interaction of so many different subjects that are going on to educate this community. And it's a wonderful place to live. And most of them, well, all of them are related to CRPD. All of the speaker series that are community-based, not the Distinguished and not the National Geographic. But I was going to say, yeah, CASAF is affiliated with us, Global's affiliated with us, Chumash is affiliated with us, Stagecoach and McRae Ranch, he has a speaker series. All of them are affiliated with us. So we're bringing a lot of education, a lot of fellowship to this community, and it's great. As of Monday, and I met Director Hunter.
Oh, you didn't want to join that.
Yes. Go Kiwanis. We used to have a good relationship. When did you come on board?
We always boo them.
You don't.
Yeah, you have rivalry, is what I am told. But
I'm saying we already, we weren't booing you. I mean, obviously, you're a little scared of Kiwanis.
you, my beer garden's bigger.
Years ago, we used to have a basketball contest and Rotary beat us every time. So no, one year we had a ringer. We did manage to win that year, but anyway, Director Buss.
Okay, so I went to the Stagecoach pop-up concert, which was awesome. We got Tarantula Hill, we had a picnic, we were back by the playground because we were with kids. And it was really fun. Yeah, it was a beautiful setting. It was chilly. And they're doing more, you're gonna do the back porch concert series. Oh, is that when that starts? Okay, because I was hoping it was in the summer, but okay. And then I went to the Safe Passage event. I did not make it to the Pioneer Jamboree. I was really bummed. I wanted to, but birthday parties and soccer took over that day. And I plan on going to Touch a Truck, which is my favorite. I can't wait.
Director Lang.
Thank you, Chair Huffer and all of the board for all of your involvement in the community. Every time you show up, that's another feather in the cap of CRPD because they see that we're involved. And that's how we are able to provide so many great events and activities and so forth for our community. So thank you for taking the time to participate. I just wanted to, I have a long list of meetings, et cetera, I've been involved with, but I would just also wanted to mention the first Wednesday of every month, the MRCA holds its meetings here in our Parks and Planning conference room and is involved as CRPD is with MRCA If you're ever interested in attending a meeting, usually the very first Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. here on campus. So it'll give you a little more information on the MRCA. I attended Ventura County Special Districts Association meeting, McCray Ranch movie night. I also attended the Safe Passages. I attended the one at the Conejo Community Center. And I'm so glad I did. And I think some of you know my involvement with that started Safe Passage. I personally didn't, that was Tim. But to talk to people at the event, Safe Passage event, is really gratifying knowing what was there years ago. And I saw this couple on the table next to me and holding a little 9-month-old baby girl. We call it baby, but and so afterwards I went and spoke with them. They are, Rochelle, they are so thankful for CRPD, its programs there at those apartments on Warwick. This child, you may have heard through your staff, was born with heart conditions. Our staff has, and I think it's okay to say this, has volunteered. They have a little older daughter, to help babysit while the younger one was having heart operations in the hospital and so forth. And all of the things that our staff is out there to do, they helped the husband sell a truck. He needed the money, and our CRPD staff somehow heard about and helped them sell this truck and so forth. But it's just, talking one-on-one with them and to hear about all of the compliments that they were paying CRPD and our staff is just so gratifying to me. So thank you, Rochelle, and thank our staff for all that they do beyond what their, duties and job is and so forth. And then here's one you probably don't hear too often. The Moore Park Watershed Parks Recreation Conservation Authority. We had a meeting yesterday, and that's a JPA between the Conservancy, Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, and the city of Moore Park. We have property here in Tirarata Valley, so we had that meeting yesterday. I attended Pete Peterson's memorial service last Sunday. Very inspirational. I attended the pickleball 6th anniversary event and I had great feedback from the pickleball players and so forth. And they were just so thankful. And I said, I'm just one person and it's a whole organization, our board and so forth. So everyone's to be thanked by the pickleball people. Pardon?
Pick up a paddle.
No, but it was explained to me how they put the paddles and, plan to get on the court and so forth. I thought that was kind of interesting. Come on, George. Number of times, people made suggestions that we take over the tennis courts, not just line them up or double line them with the pickleball and tennis lines, but to actually convert them to pickleball. And they said, well, we've still got to offer tennis courts, that's very important. And I got to thinking as I was driving home, and Andrew would have a better idea on this, the cost of converting those tennis courts to full-time pickleball courts and then build one new tennis court there. Is that something that's feasible?
Yes, it is feasible, but just depends on again, budget available to do something like that.
Okay, so to me, I just kind of a little jump start on increasing the pickleball courts and building a new single tennis court or something on site there. Just occurred to me that might be a good way to go, or at least consider it ad hoc committee. And with that, I'm through with my comments.
Thank you very much, George. Most of the events that I attended have already been mentioned. With Doug, I was at the pickleball subcommittee, and several of us were at the Ventura County Special District Association. Actually got over to play pickleball twice, once with Nellie and her husband, and a second time with Catherine invited me over. I was at the street fair for Safe Passage. I didn't have any kids, so didn't stay as long as you did with your kids, but it was quite an event. It looked like the young people particularly were having a wonderful time, and they had a mariachi band there that was all young people, which was pretty impressive. I mean, there was some really good sound from that mariachi band. So McRae Ranch movie, the first one of the season, as George mentioned. I did attend briefly a portion of the pop-up concert over at Suburbia Park, and I was amazed. I mean, that's a little out of the way park that you have to live in the area to even know that it's there, and they probably had 200 to 300 people at this little Suburbia Park. So yeah, it's drawing huge crowds at, you know, I'm assuming at probably all of the locations. So, and then even though I'm not a country and Western music fan, I was over at the Wild Oaks Festival, not for the music, but happened that the Good Club Kiwanis was doing some marketing there. The Westlake Rotary was kind enough to let us set up a booth there and do some marketing for our event, which won't be anywhere near as big as Chili Cook-Off, but the Brew Fest is trying. You know, like yeah. Oh, yeah. So that pretty much covers everything that I did. So, item 12, request for status reports and items for subsequent agendas. Does anyone have anything? Director Nichols?
I do have one suggestion, request regarding the naming of the Conejo Creek Parks in the complex there. I thought of this after the Page Lane Neighborhood Park was renamed. I thought for those that are directionally challenged, you know, how do they know which is Conejo Creek South, Conejo Creek North, Conejo Creek West, Conejo Creek Southwest? I thought maybe we could rename those into something, you know, rather than when it was in the planning phases and it was just an area on a map where those names kind of originated, to actually name them, you know, whether it's Conejo Creek Park, which is the one behind the library, Conejo Creek Playfields, or whatever it happens to be. Or what my kids always call the library park. And I said, why do you call it the library park? And they said, well, when you turn in the street, it says library park. So I look on the sign, sure enough, there's a sign up there that says library park. It's with an arrow.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say
kids-
it's library park and soccer field.
Yeah, the kids always call it the library park.
Don't your kids, I mean,
Yeah.
I never even knew there was a Conejo Creek North or a Conejo Creek South. It was always library park and soccer fields. As soon as they put in the park, before they had the sign, we called it library park.
Yeah,
So-
so until 2017, when I ran the chili cook-off, did I know that was Conejo Creek North and South? And I was
Yeah.
like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
You're a realtor and you didn't know the
No.
names of the
Conejo Creek.
So fields and then library.
Yeah, well, it was always soccer fields and library park.
And you probably call it Dover and Hendricks, don't you?
I do.
We always called it. I didn't even know it was Conejo Community Park. It was Dale Dover and Hendricks.
Then you think you're by the TO High School. Very.
So anyhow, I just bring that up as a way to, you know, help clarify some of our parks in that complex.
Should we name a library park?
have
and
we had-
soccer
I'll,
field?
I'll leave that to the naming committee.
Yeah, we do have a naming
Yes,
committee,
so
and there is some precedent for that, because originally Sapway was Lang Ranch
That's right.
Community Park.
That's right.
We have Lang
Mhm.
Ranch Neighborhood. and
Right.
Same thing, you know, well, it's a little confusing. Which Lang Ranch Park do you
Right,
want? So
right. So I'll,
perhaps.
that's my suggestion. I'll leave
Yeah.
that to the committee. And then one last thing, not related, but I meant to mention this before regarding the professional growth presentation that we had tonight. I just want to thank the executive team for making that happen, because I've noticed in my career, and maybe others have as well, the further you go in your career, the less and less it is about the technical skills that you started with in your career, as it becomes to how do you speak, how do you write, and how do you communicate with others and interact. And a lot of people want to hold on to that college education training and realize, yeah, if you want to move forward, you got to, expose yourself and challenge yourself. So I think it was a great opportunity for them to do that. So thanks for supporting that. I think it's a great idea.
Could I make a comment too? Because I thought we were going to comment about that after the presentation, but everybody left. I was not only impressed with your team that put it together, but that so many people on the staff wanted to take this and were like honestly wanting to improve their skills. And I think that that was brilliant. I felt very touched inside that people were taking advantage of that, because a lot of people would just be like, yeah, I'm done with work. I don't want to go back and, do something. That showed a lot of initiative. And, just talking with somebody, one fellow said, I was so scared of the public speaking, but I got up and did it. And, and I just thought, a lot of times as adults, people aren't always open to that. So, kudos to you and to you and to yourself. I only really went off on Melissa because we just did the budget and we just did MRCA. It's just like a lot of work, but that was a wonderful idea. I hope are they planning to continue that?
And I'll just say quickly that it was really a passion of Tim Dewar. And it was really important to him. And so Melissa and him put it together, and it went last year. People really enjoyed it. This year, people really enjoyed it. And now the staff are enjoying teaching it. So I think it will continue. And it's just really interesting that we have part-time people and full-time people taking it. So yeah, very proud of them.
Okay, item 13, items from the public. You're our public. Anything you'd like to say? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
You know you're in a public meeting, right? We're government. You don't do that. No one applauds.
Thank you. Do we have anybody online waiting to speak? No. Okay. I'm hoping we have no need for an executive closed session. No. Yes. What? See this note that was written to me? You're stealing my thunder. Gee. I know, I screwed it up. So anyway, we do not have a need for a July 6th meeting. So after I adjourn the meeting, the next meeting will be July 20th. All right, so cross the 6th off your calendar or find something else to do. All right, so we are going to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of, I always call him Pete Peterson. I guess legally his name was Sterling Peterson, but Pete Peterson died. I don't have his date of death here. Anyway, born in January 1st of 43 in Los Angeles. He was in the U.S. Army for 3 years. After he left the Army, he worked for LA Unified School District for a brief time, and then came over here to the Park District in 1970. And he was around for such a long time. When he started, the Park District had 3 parks. When he retired 37 years later as senior ground supervisor, there were over 40 parks. So he oversaw lots of projects, hundreds of staff. The end of his obituary is sweet. It says, Pete was everyone's favorite uncle, a remarkable friend, a giver of life lessons, fun storyteller, and a beloved part of many families. And Pete is survived by his brother Gary, wife Linda, and their children Jeff and Jan, lots of family friends. And George said he attended his celebration of life last Sunday. So we're adjourning in memory of Pete Peterson. Good job, Chair Huffer. You know, other than forgetting to get motions on a couple of things, but